Hi there, this is Connor with studyskills.ie and welcome to the first section, section 1 of the video series. And in this section we're going to go through what is the how to learn section. So this section is going to be all based around how do I take this information that I need to know and how do I kind of put it into my brain so that when I need to retrieve it in a future date, i.e. an exam situation, it's going to be there for me and I'm going to be able to learn it very easily and quickly. So this section is actually very fun. It's going to be very interactive, and as we go through this together, there's going to be maybe 6 or 7 lectures that we have, and in each lecture I'm going to ask you to do an interactive exercise which is just going to show you how these techniques are going to be very beneficial. So in this section we're going to learn a few things. This first lecture is going to be the basics on how your brain actually learns. So it's not going to be that long, it's going to be maybe 4 minutes, and then after this lecture we're going to go through 5 memory systems or memory techniques, and they are the PEG system, the chain method, the linking system, the journey method, and then memory palaces. Now each one is going to be very beneficial to you, but I've structured them in a way where the easiest is going to be first off, and then we're going to progress through these till we get to the most difficult. Now as you can imagine, the most difficult are also the most beneficial because you're going to be able to remember the most information in the quickest time. So at the end, the linking system, the journey method, and the memory palaces are really going to be the foundation of your learning material for when we get to the what to learn section. So now I'm just going to briefly go through how your brain learns information, and as I run through these what I call memory tricks, don't worry if you're not quite sure what this means yet, because this is all going to come together when we go through the actual techniques. So the first memory trick is that our brain remembers pictures and not words. So when we're trying to learn information, we need to transform the words into pictures in our imagination. And what this means is that as we are learning text or learning speech, our brain automatically makes vivid images from those, because that's what speech and text is. It's a way to describe images. So if we want to learn material, we need to learn it in images and by making those images a certain way. Now, one of the ways is by memory trick number 2, and that is that we remember what's unusual. And now this means that things that are odd, bizarre, comical, rude, or in some way unusual are a lot easier to picture in our minds and are thus a lot easier to remember. So again, as we do our memory techniques, this is going to become a lot more kind of easier to understand, because you'll be doing the technique as we explain it. Memory trick number 3 is that we remember information that is organized. So organizing information into groups of categories gives the information a place in our brain, and thus it makes it very easy to retrieve at a later time. Now most people, when they try and learn information, they just gather all these facts and they try and repetitively repeat the facts, whether in speech or in writing or whatever, and then all these facts go into their brains. But if there's no actual place for those facts and that information, it's just going to be forgotten very easily. So the idea and the concept of organization is very important, because if you give information a place in your brain, then it's going to stay there, and in the future it's going to be very easy to actually retrieve that information. Memory trick number 4 is that we remember things that are real more easily. Now real things are easier to remember than abstract ideas, because again you can picture them in your imagination. So for example, it's a lot easier to remember the words egg, ball and brick than it is to remember geg, label and ribk. And the reason is because egg, ball and brick are actually real things. They're tangible in the world, and when we say those words we can create an image of what they are. Whereas geg, label and ribic, even though they have the same letters in the word, there's no context for making an image of those things, and thus it's very, very difficult to learn them. So basically, if we can find a way to make a picture of what we were trying to learn, it's a very, very good strategy for memorization. Finally, we have memory trick number 5, and that is that we remember things that are somehow connected to our lives. And what this means is that if you can find how the information somehow relates to you or what you already know, then it's going to be much, much easier to learn. So let's just wrap that up then. That was just a brief summary of how your brain learns. And basically, like we said, your brain learns information through pictures that are unusual, organized, real, and in some way connected to our lives. Again, like I mentioned before, if this doesn't make much sense right now, then don't worry. I don't actually expect you to understand this until we go through the techniques. And we've just covered the simple theory of how your brain learns information. So it is going to be difficult to understand everything until we go through the memory systems. And like I said, in the How to Learn section, we're going to be learning 5 different methods that incorporate the memory tricks. And now what you should do is, after this video, move on to the first method, which is called the PEG system, and you're going to begin to see how all of this works together.